We are looking out. We're on the south side of the property. This is southwest corner. This is the garage. This is the water meter. The water meter has an analog meter, which is the home inspector's friend. It means I can look in there. I can see the second dial. I can see that the second dial is not moving. So the purpose of this inspection, we've passed the potable water leak test. This is the main valve. This one belongs to the municipality. It belongs to the city. It belongs to the water company. It belongs to the vendor. Call it who you will. Call it what you will, but that's not your valve. If you line those little ears up so you can drop a padlock in there, like if you don't pay your water bill, that's what they'll do. You'll turn the water off to it. If that arrow is pointing towards the meter, you should have water. If that little dial in there, the red dial, if it's not moving, you should not have a freshwater leak. We should not have more than 80 psi to the house. Look at there, we got about 60 psi. That's good. Now we're supposed to let that sit for a little bit, and we will. When I button this all up, I'll pick up all my stuff. Okay, so we got good water pressure. We don't have a leak. We got good water pressure. We're moving on along the side of here. We're in the garage now. On the garage north interior wall, behind this little door, this is the main water shutoff to the house. If you have an emergency, this is where you go. Parallel is on, perpendicular is off. I just turned off all the water to the house. I just turned on all the water to the house. That's how you do it. I shouldn't have done that, but that's how you do it. That's how it's done. That's how it's done. Let's see. I'm looking around, peeking at stuff. Alright. Well, let's just kill two birds with one stone. We might even go for three. Oh. Let's finish what we started. Coming in here on the back side of the house, these steps that are not dimensionally uniform, okay, and trip hazards. Going over here to our patio, these are our main sewer cleanouts. You got a double cleanout right there. That would be in the west side yard. The home faces east. So those are our main sewer cleanouts right there. That pretty much handles the water section. Unless we find some problems with our faucets and stuff. Let's move to the water heater. Let's move to the water heater. Okay, so we're moving all along here. This is the main drain, the pressure relief drain to the water heater. That's fine. About 3 inches from the ground, that's fine. Alright. Now we're going to have some other considerations. One of the considerations that we're going to have is that there are a large number and variety of water heaters that do not require a secondary drain pan, because these are tankless water heaters and they don't have a tank. This is our pressure relief drain. Since that's just going right straight through the wall, I told my client I wasn't going to do this because this building's only 2 years old. If it fails, it fails. It's not going very far. This is our thermostat. This is our data plate. The Uniform Building Code, I believe it is. Maybe it's the International Residential Code in the city of Dallas. I know we're not in Dallas. We're not even in Dallas County. But they all say that you should have a vacuum breaker for the pressure relief valve in the same room with the water heater. If you had a vacuum breaker, you'd have water on the floor. A very economical fix to meet that requirement would be to put an inexpensive safety pan that hangs on the wall. You could put the vacuum breaker in the pan, and then the pan would drain on out to the yard, and everybody's happy. Or we could all fight about it. Water temperature should not, that's the thermostat, it should not be adjusted higher than 120 degrees, and it's not. Gas piping has a sediment trap, that's fine, but we come up here, see this gas tape right here? It's not molested. It wasn't dialed in. Alright? So you can just hook it up. It's kind of like spark plugs. You just pull them out of the package, stick them in the lawnmower, you're good to go. But any decent mechanic would tell you to gap your spark plugs. And any decent plumber would have adjusted this. You take a nanometer. Maybe the plumber didn't have a nanometer. If he had one, it's dusty and underneath the seat of his truck. He never uses that. But you're supposed to put a nanometer on here and and adjust the gas pressure coming into it so that it works optimum. There's a care and use manual up there. We go a little farther. You see that little nipple up there? Right. I got a still image of it. Right there. Okay. Well, that nipple has a purpose. It's a drain. A drain on the exhaust. A drain on the exhaust. This is supposed to be a high efficiency, low energy water heater. Actually, when it comes on, it runs like a city bus. We're learning, the best thing to say about these is that they're convenient. And they last longer than a conventional water heater so long as they're maintained. And you might save a couple dollars in operation. But here's what's going on. Man, my phone's blowing up is what's going on. A word from my sponsor. Alright, so if you could put your hand on that flue, it wouldn't burn you. Because this being high efficiency, it captures all the heat. It captures most of the heat, I'll put it that way. And directs it into the water so that you get the heat that you paid for. Doing that, you have a byproduct from the process called condensate. And the condensate is very acidic. And it goes outside of that little hole right there. Let's see if I can get up in there. It goes inside that little rubber booty. Goes into a hose. The hose has a drip loop. The hose has a vacuum breaker. The hose probably should have a neutralizing filter on it. And then it goes outside. Along with this. You can even put it in the drain pan. And then they'd all go out together. We don't have that hose hooked up. What happens if we don't have the hose hooked up? What happens if we don't have a condensate drain line? Where does the condensate go? It goes down here inside of your heat exchanger. So instead of having a 15-year tankless water heater, you're replacing them in about 5 years. I see it a lot. It happens more often than you would think. I mean, it's your prerogative. 5-year water heater, you got that kind of money. So, now down here, this home is 2 years old. This is the screen for the water supply to the water heater. It's supposed to be serviced once a year. We're supposed to service our regular water heater, and this is supposed to be serviced once a year either. It's supposed to be checked once a year. Alright? But the only way to really check one of these, alright, is if you open it up and look inside. Way beyond the scope of this inspection. That's the only way to properly inspect. Okay? This screen is supposed to be cleaned once a year. We have these isolation valves. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get wet. Highly recommend that you look it up on YouTube. There's some people that will walk you through it. There's some instructions inside the instructions that came with it that'll tell you how to do it. But if you're not confident, if you do not have that skill set, just pay a plumber a couple bucks to flush this screen out. It's not a big deal. But not flushing this screen is the difference between a 15-year water heater and a 5-year water heater. Okay? Not having a condensate drain. That's the difference between having a 15-year water heater and having a 5-year water heater. Now, I'm not promising you 15 years. It might last 17. I'm not promising you 17 years. It might last 13. But you're going to get more. You're going to get more towards what the system was designed to do if you have the condensate drain line installed and if you service your screen.
Of course, this should be serviced, and that should be serviced, that should be dialed in, other stuff. Okay, man, this is going to be a long plumbing video. We're going to do it once. This is the lawn sprinkler system. All right, we got 4 zones. This is the control. You can hand write this. All right, this is our receiver. That's our sensor. All right, so coming along here, pretty close to the meter. And what we have here is this is the check valve. That's our main shut-off valve. That's a good thing. And we have our isolation valves. Those are good things. Now, what's wrong here? Oh, well, you know, Bud's here. Something's wrong. Everything was fine until Bud showed up. This box should be excavated so that you get your hands around the valves and service them. And it should be lined in gravel so that the erosion, it doesn't backfill like it has. It's coming in, our handle's getting rusty.